Okay, I hope you all had a good break. Today, this morning and later this afternoon, you're going to be hearing a lot of specific cases, a lot of going into some detail on sustainability issues in Norway and elsewhere. I thought today I'd take a slightly different approach, a more of a big picture approach, why this is important for the hydropower sector approach. My name is Pablo Valverde. I'm the Deputy CEO of the International Hydropower Association. And for those of you who don't know, we are a global association based in London with a local office in my house in Bergen. So if ever you guys need anything here in Norway, I'm the person to go to. And what we do is to advance sustainable hydropower. Now, I put this slide here. There's three things that we do. We provide the necessary evidence and platforms for advocacy. We mobilize members and stakeholders to promote change through advocacy and communications efforts. And we help build a track record of sustainability. And as an example of the kind of work that we do, if you didn't know this, pay attention or take note now. Last week we published the World Hydropower Outlook, the first World Hydropower Outlook, which not only looks at the state of hydropower and the outlook for hydropower, but also comes up with some policy recommendations for policymakers and for the hydropower sector. So we can fill the 700 gigawatt gap that we need to achieve net zero. Now, the reason why all this is important is if you look at IRENA and IEA plans for the next 30 years, they say that we need to build as much hydropower over the next 30 years as we've built over the last 130 years. We need to double the amount of hydropower if we're going to meet net zero objectives. Is that currently happening? No. There is one country in the world that's building as much hydropower as we should all be building in order to meet the net zero objectives set out by IEA and IRENA, and that's China. Over the last 10 years, China has built two-thirds of all new hydropower that's been built, that's been added. Now, nope. Still nope. See if there we go. So we're able to do this thanks to, so like I said, our work is to promote sustainable hydropower around the world, and we're able to do this thanks to the support of our members. Our members, we have 90 and 100 members that together account for approximately a third of hydropower's installed capacity globally, including some members who are here in this room today. I know EDF, Natel, Statkraft, TWAG, and Hydro Tasmania are all here. It's great. Great to have you as members. I know that some future members, such as Vattenfall, are also here. That's great. Let's have a chat at lunch. But it's this global network that allows us to not just have a global mandate of trying to promote sustainable hydropower globally, but also to have this voice. These are just some of our members up on the slide right now. Now, I say that we have this broad range of membership, and we've been here for 28 years now. But for 25 years, in 2019, our members told us that what we were doing as an organization was great. That's what you'd expect from any kind of industry organization. But what they really, really wanted was someone to really put sustainable hydropower at the heart of the energy transition. It was this constant reminder that the world's talking about renewables, the world's talking about net zero, and nobody's talking about hydropower, despite the fact that hydropower is the largest source of renewable energy in the world. It's what the IEA director, Fatih Birol, has called the forgotten giant of green electricity. And our members told us that we need to do something about it. So we had a new CEO, a new president, new board, and this impetus, this clear mandate from the board to change the way we did things. They wanted to focus on fact-based advocacy. So what we've done is we said, okay, well, we'll focus on three things. Hydropower is different from other renewables in that you need policymakers for hydropower to develop the way it needs to develop. You're going to need policymakers to realize why it's important. It's not going to happen by itself, not like wind and solar. You're going to need policymakers to take a good look at the whole system, at their whole objectives and their whole energy strategy, and figure out how much storage capacity they're going to need. Figure out what does this mean for flexibility of the grid. What does it mean for, if we're going to be putting in a lot of wind and solar, what does it mean for the flexibility? What does it mean for the reliability of the grid? These are all things that policymakers need to think beyond just we're going to invest more in renewables. So making sure that the policy discussions were in place, that's one of our top priorities. The next one is markets. Unlike wind and solar and other technologies, hydropower requires a significant investment over a longer period of time, and importantly, the markets have a massive gap in that they don't price anything other than generation. What about, again, storage? What about grid services? What about all the ancillary benefits that hydropower provides? Well, those aren't priced by the market. So we're going to need to find ways to address that so that investments in hydropower are incentivized. And then, of course, if we do great on policy and we do great on markets, we're still gonna sink and we're not gonna get anywhere unless we manage to debunk the myth that hydropower can't be done sustainably. We need to demonstrate that hydropower in the 21st century is being done sustainably. So for us, that meant a big change in how we look at things. If we're gonna be trusted, if we're going to be doing fact-based advocacy, we need to be trusted. And that means we're going to need to change our approach to our members. It can't just be a question of, I'm a member of IHA because I pay. That doesn't lead to trust. It's, I'm a member of IHA because I pay, I promote sustainable hydropower, and I'm held accountable for what I'm doing. And fortunately, we had 15 years of work together with the World Bank and others to set up the hydropower sustainability tools, the protocol, and the ESG tools, which gave us a good point of departure for building that trust. So one of the first things we did was we set up a charter for our members in 2020, which then in 2021, realizing that it wasn't just for our members, but for the sustainable hydropower community, became the San Jose Declaration on Sustainable Hydropower. It was launched at the 2021 World Hydropower Congress. Now, it wasn't the only thing that was launched at that Congress. There was also a no-go commitment. We committed our members to not go into World Heritage Sites. And importantly, we turned this protocol, these guidelines, sorry, these tools, the sustainability tools, into a standard. And for us, this sets the framework of our approach to sustainable hydropower, because one of the key things that the San Jose Declaration says is, let's start from the fact that sustainable hydropower is a clean, green, modern, and affordable solution to climate change. We need more hydropower, okay? Great. Now, having said that, going forward, the only acceptable hydropower is sustainable hydropower. And this is important because this is the sustainable hydropower community saying some projects we shouldn't be doing. Some projects, as demonstrated by the fact that we have a no-go commitment on World Heritage Sites, some projects are simply not something we should be doing. And it's something we need to do. The only acceptable hydropower is sustainable hydropower. How do we know whether a project is sustainable or not? Well, we have the Hydropower Sustainability Standard, which is a global standard that allows us to certify whether a project is sustainable or not. And the standard covers 12 different areas, which I think there's significant overlap with the 10 that Pravin mentioned also from the World Bank, and that's not by surprise, that's by design, of course. And what's important about it is that this is not industry grading its own homework. This standard started with the Hydropower Sustainability Assessment Protocol with a number of different organizations and countries, including the government of Norway, setting up what have we learned over the last 100 years of hydropower development? What is international good practice on these 12 different areas? And that has continued into the governance of the standard. So when a project is certified using the standard, it's not this company says this project is sustainable, or this government says this project is sustainable. It's this third-party certification process, which is governed by a multi-stakeholder group that includes WWF, IUCN, the Nature Conservancy, industry, the World Bank, NORAD, et cetera, is actually behind this third-party certification. And it's a methodology that's been tested over 10 years. So it's something that the the standard, the protocol, has been tested in a number of different countries and a number of different projects over the last 10 years. Again, this point that the way it works is that a company hires a certified assessor, which we certify, and that has gone through a significant training program to assess the project and certify it. Assess the project, and then it can be brought up for certification. Now, it's applicable to the 3 stages of any project. It's at the preparation stage, and when you certify a project in the preparation stage, it lasts for 3 years. In the implementation stage, again, 3 years, and in the operation stage for 5 years, which means that after 5 years, you're going to need to do it again. You need to recertify to keep that certification badge. And, sorry? 3 minutes, oh goodness, okay. So, and then the way it works is you got an assessment, a publication, application, certification, and then you can get certified silver or gold depending on how well you do. I did want to spend a second here to talk about the work that NORAD, among others, are doing. NORAD, SECO, and the World Bank are doing in implementing these, integrating these standards also around the world in their priority countries, so that it's not just companies and industry implementing the standard, but that it's also reflected in national systems as well. And we provide training around the world. I wanted to put this slide here with the bottom of the United Nations. We do have some objectives, but if you look there, we're looking at water related to increase the number of hydropower projects certified to 50 by 2025, and that's kind of what I wanted to focus on a little bit in a second. You threw me off with 5 minutes. One thing that's important to note here, it's because it's aligned with financial requirements. It helps clients prepare to meet lenders' requirements, and it also reduces the risk barriers for investment. It's something that is a requirement for climate bonds, for hydropower projects and climate bonds, and it's through our relationship with RE100. It also is something that gives value to companies trying to sell renewable energy to other companies. I'm going to share this presentation afterwards, so I'll fly through this, but there's one point I did want to make, which is right now we have a pipeline of 30 plus hydropower projects seeking certification. And the big problem for us is, if you look at that commitment that I said, the 50 projects is not very, very many. And one of the challenges that we're seeing is that a lot of companies, especially in Europe, will say things like, our legislation is already very good, and our projects are sustainable because they follow the law. Some projects are old and have dispensations, for example, a minimum flow. If as a result of these dispensations, a project isn't considered sustainable, it implies putting international standard above national law. Why would we open up that can of worms? Our legislation is already good enough, and we're already back in that cyclical argument. And that's something that we need to really challenge, because like any kind of standard, it's not unusual here in Norway. We also have Svanemerke, we have fair trade. We're used to these kind of standards. That doesn't mean that the legislation is bad. It doesn't mean that a product isn't good. It just means that there's a way of showing that this project is certified according to international good standards. So in other words, there should be no excuses. We'd love to see more and more of our projects, of our members, serving as global ambassadors, implementing the standard, etc. Now, I do want to spend, I know I need to run off here, but just very quickly, I mentioned that in 2021, the protocol became a standard. In the Congress that's going to be taking place in the 31st of October to 2nd of November, that standard is, we're planning to spin off our sustainability team to become its own entity. Now, the importance of that is that it gives distance and really states the part that this is not an industry standard, this is a third-party standard. So I guess I'll close off here by saying, make sure to come to Bali in October, and we'll see you there for more discussions on sustainability.